Hi, welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I'm Steve Smith. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about choosing a handgun for a beginner. First off, I started out the day ready to write, and I made a big mistake. I sat down, had my first cup of coffee, and I was all in the frame of mind to start back writing my book, Blessings of Freedom. And I made the mistake of picking up another book that I've started, and I think I mentioned it the other day, and I started reading it. Well, I got so engrossed in it and started enjoying it so much, I ended up not getting around to writing my own because I didn't want to put this down, and I wanted to tell you what this book is. The book is Survivalist Family, Prepared Americans for a Strong America. I think I got that right. I don't have my readers on, and I'm reading backwards in the camera here. It's by Joe Fox over at Viking Preparedness, and he wrote this some years ago. And I think that both of us have told a little bit about this story on our channels. He had somehow stumbled across me and bought my book and said some really nice things and gave a great review on my book. And then I guess he emailed me first. That's right, and said he liked my book. And I said, well, that's great. Thank you very much, and I'll send you the others. And so I did. And he was reading. He's in the process, I think, of reading the second and third. Well, anyway, he sent me his book back, and it was right at the beginning of my busy season. And I started it, really liked it, but I didn't have time to continue it very much, just like I haven't had time to continue my writing. And I've been looking forward to getting back to it. Well, anyway, so that was this morning. I got up. I was going to write my own book. Got involved in this. Couldn't put it down. So I never got around to writing any of Blessings of Freedom today. So that's my excuse. I'm going to do a review on this when I get done, and I hope that now I ought to be done in the next week or so because it's a great read. But I did want to get this out there because if anybody out there is looking for a stocking stuffer, or my kids will go, stocking? What's a stocking? You mean stocking? Or something for Christmas or just for themselves? I'm only halfway through, but I can already tell you that this is well worth the money. Like I say, I'm going to do a review on it when I'm done, but I want to let you know that before Christmas in case anybody wanted to buy one. It's on Amazon. Okay, so then I also just uploaded a video to Patreon. At first, I apologize to the people who went to it and couldn't access it. It's because I did something wrong on YouTube. I put a wrong setting on it. It's the first one that I've done only for Patreon. It's on unorthodox handgun handling drills that some of us used to do back in the day. It's only for your entertainment, right? Nothing that I would suggest, but still, it's something that I'm not going to put on YouTube for the general public to see. Something that I want just kind of the more serious thinkers to, because they'll understand. Okay, so I got it up, and it should be visible now. And I'm going to be putting more, as I explained on that, I'm going to be putting some stuff on there, some lessons from different types of people throughout the world. I've had an opportunity to deal with a lot of different kinds of people, and there's a lot of lessons out there that you don't find in the mainstream, and many of those lessons are more important, I would say, to your survival and preparedness than the ones that you might see in the mainstream. So I'll be getting on over there in Patreon. If you feel an interest in it, I'll put the link down on below here. Okay, so when people come to me and ask, and like I say, this is going to be for beginners, just now getting into it. People come and ask, what kind of gun should I get? Well, there's two basic categories, revolvers and auto loaders. We used to call auto loaders automatics, but they're not automatics, they're semi-auto. And today, most people carry auto loaders. They're the ones that you see I hardly see anybody talking about revolvers anymore, although I love revolvers. I'm much more a revolver guy than I am an auto guy, even though I carry, as my daily, I carry autos. But as I mentioned in my book, I said I think probably the my favorite handgun of all time is a Smith & Wesson Model 5741 Magnum. Most people will never see one, let alone, and you wouldn't want to carry one as a daily carry. But revolvers, in my mind, are works of art. They're pure Americana, and autoloaders to me are just tools, and that's the way you should look at it. It's a tool, nothing to get all excited about. So I want to make this very simple because people have some basic questions, and I want to get rid of the mystique for the people just now thinking about buying your first handgun. There is a debate over caliber. Okay, there's a lot of different calibers. Now, I wrote an article, a column actually, for Grandmaster Magazine. I think it was like 1999, and I should have gotten a copy of it so I could show it to you. But I'd been up at the USA Karate Grand Nationals up in Akron, Ohio. And a guy came up to me, and I'm sorry I don't remember his name, but he was a head of a big school up there, and he came up and he asked me, what is the best self-defense gun there is? Well, that opens a whole can of worms right there, but in response to him, I wrote a fairly detailed article going through every caliber out there, beginning with a 22 and a 25 and a 32, which you hardly hear anything about 32s anymore, 380s, 9, 38, 40, 45, 10 millimeter. I don't think I included the 10 millimeter in there at the time, but anyway, I wrote a fairly detailed article on that, and it really doesn't have to be that detailed. I don't suggest anything under a 9 millimeter, and that means I don't suggest the 380s, although having a 380 is better than not having anything. Okay, 9 millimeter, in my opinion, as I stated the other day, is a substandard cartridge as far as power and impact. I don't suggest 9 millimeter. However, if that's what you've got, great, use it. I wouldn't want to be shot with a 9 millimeter. Okay, and so if you already have something that's a 9 millimeter, that's just great. Learn to use it. Once we get above 9 millimeter, there's 40 and 45. Now, a lot of people, when they're brand new into it, they don't want to go up into the 40 and 45 because they've heard, they're scared of it. Okay, they've heard that a 9 millimeter is easier to shoot. It's easier to control. Well, it's cheaper to shoot, but I don't agree that it's easier to shoot or control. I don't notice a lot of difference between 9 and 40. And to be honest, 45 is a lot easier to shoot for me than a 40. And it's not just me. My wife, and I'll show you some of the guns here in just a second. My wife really loves shooting my 45, my 1911. And hers is a 40 caliber, and she much prefers that over a 9 millimeter. So for you ladies out there, if you've been kind of caught up in the 9 millimeter because you think that the others are just for the big boys, they're not. You'll do fine. You will do fine. Depending upon the different weapon, the different handguns have different size grips. Okay, there's a couple of different grip angles on them, and some just feel more comfortable than others. So go out there and find one that's comfortable to your hand. Now don't keep looking and looking and looking until you think you've found the perfect one, because you should be able to adapt to whatever gun you have in your hand, and you can. The ones that I carry have fairly large grips. I have moderately large hands. They're comfortable for me, but my wife can also shoot them extremely well, and my son, when he was 11, was shooting these guns just fine. So don't be put off by the scary 40, 45 sound They're not too powerful for you. And you'll be able to shoot those things just fine with some practice, which you would need with a 9mm anyway. So that's my first suggestion, is you find one that fits your hand, that you're comfortable with, and try to stay up in the 40 and 45 calibers. The next thing is, don't spend too much money. If you're just now getting into the gun world, it's easy to be consumed with the minutia. It's easy to hear all these numbers spinning around your head, and everybody's going to have an opinion. And if you look at magazines, they'll all be telling you things far more than you'll ever need to know. If you watch YouTube, you can go into a black hole of information on guns on YouTube. 99.9% of which you'll never need to know. What you want is a dependable handgun. Okay. Now I'm going to say that I'll be showing you some here that are I think mainly I just have Smith & Wesson and Springfield Armory. I've always carried Smith and Springfield. I used to carry Colts, Colt Combat Commanders in 1911s. I sold my last one. I wish I had, but that was a long time ago. But there are other brands that are very good. Rugers are very good. Glocks are very good. Once you get into what I consider to be the second tier, like Taurus and things like that, I don't own any. I've heard a lot of people slam them. I'm not going to personally slam them because I don't have the experience to do it. But there's no reason not to stay up in the top tier of handguns. These things are dependable, and they're all good. Okay, it's just a matter of finding one that's right for you. Now, first I'll show you my wife's gun. Well, maybe I'll show you. I'll start off with mine. My preferred carry, and I showed this in the one the other day, is a 1911 government model, which means it's a full size. It's a 5-inch barrel. And this is by Springfield Armory. This is 45, and this thing is a sweet shooter. And depending on how you dress, most women wouldn't dress in a way that you could carry this on your person. You could carry it in a purse or something like that. But it's always better to keep it on your person, if at all possible, and depending on how you dress. Most guys can carry this if you're wearing a decent belt. There's no problem with carrying something like this concealed. And it is a sweet shooter. Anybody can handle it with the proper experience and training, which you would need anyway for any kind of gun. Okay. Now the next thing, my daily carry, and I also showed this the other day. This is a Smith & Wesson SD 40 VE, and that stands for self-defense, 40 caliber, value enhanced, and that just means this is the very low end of their handguns, the least expensive of this size, and I got this for $279. I love this gun. It fits my hand. It feels right. It shoots great. I've never had a problem with it. And everybody who has got a pretty strong trigger on it. But with a self-defense handgun, you want that. We're not talking about a bunch of tier 1 guys out there in an offensive shooting situation to where you want a 3-pound trigger. You want to make sure that you have to pull that trigger when you mean it, and not be worried about having a light trigger that is too light for you. And this is it's almost like a revolver trigger. So I like it, and like I said, it's $279. I also have, put that over here, the same model in a 9mm. Now you might say, why do I have a 9mm if I'm not a proponent of 9mm? Well, I have a couple of 9mm here, and I buy them mainly when I buy them on sale, when I get a real good deal in it, and I think I got this one for $269. And I could, anywhere else it would cost you quite a bit more than that. But I also like to have guns that will chamber any caliber of ammunition that I happen to come across. And it's a lot cheaper to shoot. Uh, and it's a great way to start somebody. It's not that they can't handle a 40, but it's the same exact gun. And if you want to start somebody out, and one of the best ways to get comfortable with a gun and get better with a gun is just shoot a lot of rounds through it. And it's a lot cheaper to shoot 9mm than it is 40 cal. So it's the same gun. You wouldn't be able to tell much of a difference between shooting them. And to be honest, my wife prefers the 40 over the 9. So again, you ladies, don't be scared away from the 40s or the 45s just for a 9 because you think that was for better for women. It's not necessarily. So that's my main carry. And the trade-off that you get there between the two, the main reason that I carry a 40 so often instead of a 45 is I don't usually carry reloads, and I'll explain that in another video. And with the 40, I'm able to carry 14 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber. The 9mm carries 16 with 1 in the chamber. Not a big difference when you consider the difference in effectiveness. And I'll insert right here something. If you watched my video from the other day, I talked about the argument on the part of some of the 9mm being just as effective as the 40 or the 45 because of what it does in a controlled environment and ballistic gelatin. That means nothing to me. I don't care about that, okay? Like Gun Blast said, I mentioned, you're never going to be attacked by a guy made of gelatin. You care what it does to human tissue, and it's all about tissue damage, okay, and bleeding out and shock. And I'm going to put a link to a very good video down below by a guy named Paul Harrell. And I probably suggest Paul over almost anybody if you really want to know about different guns and caliber effectiveness and the effectiveness of different guns. He's just a real, he's a good one to watch, and I'll put it down here, the one to where he compares 9 to 40. I think he compared 9 to 40 and 45, and you'll see that the 45 comes out on top and how much better, and that the 40, is better than the 9. So that's the thing. The next thing that I carry is a Smith & Wesson Shield. This is my backup. There's my primary. This is a Shield in 45 caliber. Now again, we're staying up with the big calibers. This is very small. It's very slim. It's easy to hold, easy to shoot. It's a great shooter. My wife also loves this. I also have the exact same one in a 9mm because I got it on a real good sale. And guns are great investments. They do better. They do better than your 401k if you buy them at the right price. Okay. The next one is my wife's gun, the first one that I bought her, and this is a Springfield Armory XDS subcompact, and it's in 40 caliber. And she loves. I think she likes this the most. I think she likes my 45 after this, but she likes this one the most. And it's a very easy handgun to carry, very easy to control. It's a great shooter, and it delivers that 40 caliber, which is the size that you want. I'll say one thing here. I do have one revolver that I occasionally carry. This is a Smith & Wesson Model 65. I bought it shortly after I left law enforcement, and it's a 38. It's what we used to carry back then. Actually, I started carrying a 45 as a backup even when I was in uniform before I went undercover. But this is just a nice, I love revolvers, as I said. So it's a real nice gun. I even have the original grips. I don't play around much with my guns. I could put Packmark grips on this to give it a little better grip on it, but you got to be able to shoot whatever you have, and this shoots just fine. There was another one I was going to show you just to play around with, but there's really no purpose to that. What I want to do is conclude this by saying, don't be afraid of large caliber. The larger caliber you carry, the more effective it's going to be. No matter who you are, if you're 10 or above years old, you will be able to handle it. It's just a matter of getting used to it and training. The second thing is, don't get all lost in the weeds over minutia of little inconsequential differences between the guns. Just get a quality gun and get trained. Okay, learn how the gun works. Okay, go home, and what I suggest, get out the manual for yourself, read it, learn how to disassemble it, and then clean it, and then put it back together again, and then do it again, and then do it again, and then do it again. Okay. Then if you want to go out on the range, get some basic training, go to a basic handgun class. Okay, and they'll familiarize you with the basics. And don't get all caught up again in stances and things like this. There's a different way that's common in holding a pistol nowadays than in my day. But to be honest, these things have changed a lot over the years. Stances have changed, grips have changed. No matter what they're doing, at the moment, everybody's going to say, yeah, that's the right way to do it, and everything else they did before is not right or is wrong. Well, guess what? In 5 years, there's going to be something else coming along, and I'll probably do another video on this. This is running kind of long, but just get comfortable with it, and then shoot. Okay, shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. And then after you've become real comfortable with that, then go, if you've got the time and the abilities and the money, go to some good shooting courses. There are some great shooting instructors out there. Some of the classes are kind of pricey. You decide whether it's worth it to you, but the more you shoot, the better you're going to get. And what I suggest is, don't get in a hurry. Become comfortable. Become comfortable with it and shoot it. I took my my oldest son to a range a couple of years ago, and I was going to see whether he was ready for an AR. Well, I gave him my 22 to plink on, to put in the targets a few times. I wanted to see, how he was handling it. He was doing fine. So I turned away to do something, and all of a sudden I hear him behind me, and he's going, bam, 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 bam. And I go, about 6 or 7 times. And I said, whoa, 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 they don't like you to shoot that fast here at this range, so settle down. And but I brought the target back, and he had them all right like that. So I mean, he was fine, But I would suggest against them. Take your time, make your shots, get used to it, get used to the gun. I used to tell my people, don't do it 100 times fast, do it 1,000 times right. And right will be smooth, and that's all the faster you're going to need to be. So that's the basics for people getting brand new into it. Find a good, dependable gun, and I always suggest the top tier makers. If you try to save too much money, you might not get out of it what you think you are. Colt, Smith & Wesson, Springfield Armory, Glock, Ruger. I'm probably leaving a couple out, but mainly all mine are Smith and Springfield Armory. And then learn your gun. Clean it, take care of it, get some basic training, shoot it a lot, and then get some advanced training if you can. And then you will be safer, and the people around you will be safer. But don't be afraid of these things. You can handle anything out there. It's just a matter of getting used to it and training. So I'll leave it with that. And good luck with whatever you get. And it's a lot of fun. But more than fun, it's a tool. The purpose for a handgun is to be able to protect yourself and the people around you. And never lose sight of that. Even if you do it for fun, and it is. Most people who shoot have a lot of fun shooting. And it's great. Always remember that when you leave the range or when you leave the house and that thing's with you, there's a main purpose for it, and that purpose is a very serious purpose. So good luck to you. Take care, and I'll remind you that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow, and I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.